너 오늘 딱 하루다. 생일이니까 봐주는 거야.
예이. 날씨가 추워서 가득한 비는 여인들의 모습에 날 위해 시려울까 한달로 그때 있었다면 새로운 사랑이 그리운 걸까 그 사람이 그리워진 걸까
뜨거운 사랑이 있으면 속이 씻겨져 때로는 별처럼 때로는 꽃처럼 진심으로 나만을 사랑할 수 있는 착한 성실한
사랑이라면 좋겠어
뜨거운 사랑이 있으면 속이 씻겨져
사랑의 우연히 여기는 아주 좋은 아니래도 신경을 써주는 살려먹는 사랑이라면 좋겠어
나는 남자가 있는데 과거가 없는 사랑이 불안스러워
한 번쯤은 시간을
그렇게 위로받고 싶어
혼자이네 진짜 떠내보는 걸 손이 놓은 사람에게 맡긴 채 외로움을 잊을 수 있다면 혼자이네 진짜 떠내보는 걸 손이 놓은 사람에게 맡긴 채 잊을 수 있다면 날씨가 추워서 활짝 피는 연인들의 모습에 날 그리워 시려울까 한땐 나도 저런 때 있었다면 새로운 사람이 그리운 걸까 사람이 그리워진 걸까
좋은 사람이 있으면 속이
켜서 때로는 모처럼 때로는 불처럼 진심으로 나만을 사랑할 수 있는 성숙하고 성실한 사람이라면 좋겠어 좋은 사람 있으면 속이 시켜줘 사랑해도 연습은 있는 거기에 아주 조금만이라도 신경을 써주는 사랑 경험이 많은 사람이라면 좋겠어 아픈 상처가 있는데 과거가 없는 사랑은 부담스러워 한 번쯤은 수련에 울었었던 눈이 거든 사랑 꿈에 안겨서 뜨겁게 위로받고 싶어 혼자이네
Exactamente para cantante
사랑에게 맡기지 외로움을 잊을 수 있다면 좋은 사람 있으면 속을 시켜줘 만나는 그 자체의 영향보다 한 번은 만나더라도
Urbanism has a long and history. It is a technology that spans an immense set of disciplines, including entertainment, communication, space exploration, medicine, and archaeology. just to name a few. Sophisticated signal processing algorithms and hardware are prevalent in wide range of systems, from highly specialized military system through industrial application to low-cost, high-volume consumer electronics. Although although we routinely take for granted the performance of home entertainment systems such as television and high fi- fidelity audio, these systems have always relied heavily on state-of-the-art signal processing. This is even more true today with the emergence of advanced television and multimedia entertainment and information systems. Furthermore, as communication systems become increasingly wireless, mobile, and multifunctional, the importance of sophisticated signal processing in this system continues to grow. Overall, as we look to the future, it is clear that the role of signal processing in our society is accelerating, driven in part by the convergence of communication, computers, and signal processing in both the consumer arena and in advanced industrial and the government conflict. The field of signal processing has always benefited from benefited from a close coupling between theory, application, and technologies for implementing signal processing systems. The growing number of applications and demand for increasingly sophisticated algorithms goes hand in hand with the rapid pace. The field of signal processing, lapangan dari signal processing, has always benefited from a close coupling between theory, applications, and technologies from implementing signal processing.
Tonight, pamirin ko medyo
Furthermore, the fifth signal. The field of signal processing has always benefited from a close coupling between theory, application, technologies for implementing signal processing system. The growing number of applications and demand for increasingly permintaan dan application permintaan demand for increasingly sophisticated goes hand in hand with the rapid pace laju yang cepat of device technology for implementing signal processing system. By some estimate, the processing capability of signal processing microprocessor is likely to increase by a factor of 200 or more over the next 10 years. By some estimates, dengan estimasi, the processing capability kemampuan processing dari signal processing microprocessor adalah is likely meningkat oleh sebuah faktor 1 dari 200 bahkan lebih akan meningkat karena satu faktor atau lebih dari 200 pada saat 10 tahun ke depan. Ini kelihatan jelas dan banyak cara. In many ways, the importance, kepentingan dan peran dari signal processing is accelerating bertambah dan meningkat. Signal processing is concerned with the representation, transformation, and manipulation of signal in the information they contain. Signal processing concerns
어두운 불빛 아래 촛불 하나 왕창에 담긴 약속 하나 항상 너의 곁에서 널 지켜줄 거야 날 믿어준 너였잖아
사랑은 건 오직 하나 영원한 행복을 바꾸지만 외로하지 않아도
Kachi Hanado. Signal processing is concerned with the representation, transformation, and manipulation of signal and the information they contain. Signal processing itu bertitik pusat pada concern, fokus kepada representasi, transformasi, dan manipulasi dari signal dan informasi yang dibawa. Untuk contohnya, kita mungkin meminta untuk membagi dua atau lebih signal yang kadang sudah dikomunikasikan, atau kita ingin untuk enhance
우리 너만 바라볼 거야
menambah. Contohnya, kita mungkin meminta untuk membagi dua atau memisahkan kedua atau lebih sinyal yang sudah terkombinasi, atau kita mungkin menambah beberapa komponen sinyal atau beberapa parameter dari model sinyal tersebut. Dalam sistem komunikasi sudah umum, it is generally necessary, sudah kepentingan umum untuk melakukan, sudahlah umum, is necessary, generally necessary biasanya dan untuk melakukan pre-processing such as modulation, signal conditioning, pengkondisian signal, and compression prior to transmission over a channel and then to post-process. I believe in communication system, it is generally necessary to do processing such as modulation, signal conditioning, and compression prior. To transmit it over a channel and then to post-process at the receiver. Sebelum tahun 1960, the knowledge of signal processing almost exclusively continues time analog technology. The rapid evolution of digital computers and microprocessors, together with some important theoretical development such as the fast Fourier transform algorithm, caused a major shift to digital technologies, giving rise to the field of digital signal processing. A fundamental aspect of the digital signal processing is that it is based on processing sequence of samples. This discrete time nature of digital signal discrete time. Sebelum, the technology of signal processing was almost exclusively continuous time analog technology. The rapid evolution of digital computers and microprocessors, together with some important theoretical of developments, such as the fast Fourier transform algorithm, caused a major shift to digital technologies, giving rise to the field of digital signal processing. A fundamental aspect of digital signal processing is that is based on processing sequence berdasarkan siklus. sequence. The discrete time, what to discrete means complexity in the time is characteristic of single procedure such as sequence. Return. The change couple device, change couple device, and switch capacitor technologies. In digital signal processing, signals are represented by a sequence of finite precision, finite, finite precision numbers, and processing is implemented using digital computation. The more general term discrete time signal processing includes digital signal processing. The more general term discrete time signal processing includes digital signal processing as a special class, but also includes the possibility that sequence of samples are processed with other discrete time technologies. Often the distinction
밤이 깊으네 바라며 춤추는 이 밤에 취해
술에 취해
흔들리고 있네요 벌써 새벽인데 아직도 혼자네요 이 기분이 나쁘지는 않네요 항상 당신에게 머물고 싶지만 이 밤에 취해
discrete time signal as a in discrete time signal are represented mathematically as sequence of numbers. Waktu discrete sinyal pada waktu discrete ditunjukkan secara matematikal melalui bukti number as a special number. Discrete time signal.
한 번만이라도 날 웃어준다면
이렇게 하지 마라
나가줄 텐데 나는 아침이 밝아오면
discrete time signal are represented mathematically as sequence of numbers.
나를 어쩌나 차라리 떠나가지고 하나는 기어오는 어린 시절 동화 같은 별을 보면서 설로가 찾아간다 오늘 밤 술에 취한 너처럼
Discrete time signal
야야야 나 내일 새벽 한식 수술하는 환자 갑자기 안 한다고 해. 간다.
가지 마라 나를 들고 떠나지 마라 오늘 밤 새빨간 꽃잎처럼 그대 발에 머물고 싶어 밤이 깊었네 바람에 춤을 추고 이 밤에 취해 흔들리고 있네요 벌써 새벽인데 아직도 혼자네요 이 기분이 나쁘지는 않네요 항상 당신 곁에 머물고 싶지만 이 밤에 취해
술을 취해
떠나고만 싶네요 이 슬픔을 하나가 몰랐어요 아이고 누여 떠나는 떠나지 마요 하나둘 피워오는 어린 시절 동화 같은 별을 보면서
새끼야. 신년이냐. Sinyan, kenapa kita jumpa? Ku tak tahu mengapa ku mempelajarimu.
가지 마라 나를 두고 떠나지 마라 오늘 밤새 빨간 꽃잎처럼 그대 말에 머물고 싶어 딱한 번만이라도 이해 묻어준다면 거짓말이었대도 너를 나가줄 텐데 아침이 밝아오면
가지 마라.
저 별이 사랑을 텐데 나는 나를 맞춰라
사랑이 떠나가지고.
하나는 비워오는 어린 시절 동화 같은 별을 보면서 오늘 밤 술에 취한 만찬하고 지친 나를 따라가야지 가지 마라 나를 두고 떠나지 마라 새 빨간 꽃잎처럼 그대 발에 머물고 싶어
So how are the Fourier series, the Fourier transform, the discrete time Fourier transform, the discrete Fourier transform, the fast Fourier transform, the Laplace transform, and the Z transform all related to each other? So let's start with the Fourier series. We're going to start in continuous time. So this is where we have a T for continuous time, and the Fourier series applies to signals which are periodic. So I'm going to draw a signal here which is periodic. That means it repeats with a period, and the period is important and has a fundamental frequency omega naught. So I'm going to write the equation here. I won't have the equation for all of the transforms, but I will for this one, just to make a point here. So this is from K equals minus infinity to infinity of AK from E to the J K omega naught T. And so here, omega naught is the fundamental frequency. So what is the Fourier series? Again, I'm not going to give all of the details. There's plenty of videos on the Fourier series based on periodic signal. Series is really
살아가는 얘기는 떠나니 아닌 지루했던 날씨 이야기는 밀려오는 추억으로 우리 지쳐가지 그러던 시간이
So this axis here is K. So it's not a frequency axis. This is an index of these A's. So we're plotting A, K as a function of K. So it's an index of the K's, and the index is related to multiples of the fundamental frequency. Okay, and in this case, it is discrete because these are discrete. It's a discrete summation of multiples of the fundamental frequency. Okay, so it's discrete and it's aperiodic. So this is not a periodic function of K, it's aperiodic. Okay, so this is one of the properties of the Fourier series. And when does it apply? Again, the important thing is it applies for periodic series. When the period here, capital T, equals 2 divided by that fundamental frequency of O. Okay, so that's the Fourier series. What about the Fourier transform? Is a generalization of the Fourier series for signals which are not periodic. And the most common signal that or a very common one that we consider here is a square function. It's very important for digital communications where you switch something on and switch something off, and all sorts of other electronics and other situations. So in this case, what is the Fourier transform? Okay, it's not periodic, and that's when the Fourier transform applies. It's more general than the Fourier series. And in this case, you're probably familiar with the sinc function. I'm going to be drawing here the magnitude, and this is important to remember, that there is also a phase component. But in this case, some differences from the Fourier series is that this is not, this is the actual frequency plotted in radians when you plot with omega. So this is the actual frequency, and there are all different frequency components that are possible. Whereas for Fourier series, it was only the multiples of the fundamental frequency. So that's an important difference between the Fourier series and the Fourier transform. So this is all frequencies are possible, and they all can contribute to this non-periodic or aperiodic signals. So this is what we call the continuous time Fourier transform. So the CT FT. And this one up here was the continuous time Fourier series, often CTFS. Okay, so this here, also it's important that I note here, I put a magnitude with a dot there, that there's also a phase component, but we often only plot the magnitude of the Fourier transform. So it's just something important to remember. And of course, also this is continuous, as I said, with all possible frequencies, and it's aperiodic. The signal is aperiodic in time, and it's aperiodic in frequency as well. Okay, now one thing though, we can define the Fourier transform for periodic signals. And so one common one that we do is one of the fundamental basis functions. I'm just going to draw it here. So this is the Fourier transform for the periodic signal. So typically, one thing I should say for the Fourier transform, it's defined for signals which have finite energy. Now, these periodic signals do not have finite energy, but we can define them using the delta function. We can define them in a particular way under the Fourier transform. So there is a definition for periodic signals under the Fourier transform. And in this case, for this cos wave, you might be familiar, and this is where I mentioned with the delta function, that the Fourier transform, the magnitude of the Fourier transform in the frequency domain is now actually continuous, and it is impulsive. So when you have a periodic signal, if you are doing the Fourier transform, then you get an impulsive Fourier transform. We call it impulsive where we have these delta functions, and this is omega naught and minus omega naught. And again, for more information on exactly what this is, check out the videos in the link below. Okay, so this is for the continuous time. What about for the discrete time? Well, discrete time, we have things in, we typically use little n to index the discrete time, and we're going to start with the Fourier series in discrete time. So again, the Fourier series relates to periodic signals. So here's a signal that is periodic. This signal here is periodic. I'll just try and sketch one here that's periodic. Okay, so this is a discrete time, so it only exists for integer values of n in the time domain. So this is why it's called discrete time. And it's periodic, so we're looking at the Fourier series. This is the discrete time Fourier series, DTFS. In this case, it is a discrete similar to in continuous time, this time it is discrete, but it is periodic. So turns out this is periodic. So why is it periodic? Let me just draw something here that is periodic. It's just a sketch representation. It's not exactly I'm not exactly trying to replicate the Fourier series for this function over here, but I'm just trying to indicate that it is periodic. So this is a periodic function here, and the period of this function is n. So this is capital N is the period of that function, where you have the Fourier, the period here relates to the fundamental frequency, relates to 2 pi divided by capital N. Okay, so this is the period over here also is n, so this is the period n, and this is in the frequency domain also has a period n. Actually, I haven't sketched enough points in here to be exactly precise, but I think you'll get the message. So this is in the time domain, the discrete time domain, and the Fourier series is discrete and periodic with period n. So this is one point to note, as I mentioned, the basis functions repeat when you have discrete time signals. And so for more information on why they repeat, there's plenty of links in the description below where you'll be able to find information on that. Okay, so now let's look at the equivalent to this one over here. So now we've got the Fourier transform in discrete time. So what do we look at here? And a common one equivalent to this one over here. I'm just drawing it with an offset here because I've got to squeeze one more in on the discrete side. So hopefully you recognize that this one is going to be equivalent and matching up to this one over here in terms of that this is the discrete, discrete time Fourier transform. So this is the transform line, and this is the transform line on discrete time. So here we've got, it's important not to forget these zeros up here. So in this case here, this function here is aperiodic, therefore we need the Fourier transform, just like we had in continuous time, and it's 0. For all the different times other than these times here. I'm just using this square function as an example. In this case, again, the basis functions repeat. What does this mean? Well, I'll draw that just in a minute, but I'll make the point, first of all, that the Fourier transform of a discrete time signal that's aperiodic is a continuous function. And so here's, it's continuous in exactly the same reason for over here. This one was discrete in terms of the Fourier series,